So, your dad was one of 7 children.
Right.
So you were going to tell me about Dale and you growing up or something?
Yeah. No. Yeah. The story that I'm writing is about what happened to the family, the Lewis family,
All right.
way back in, it had to be before I was born,
Okay.
in, I don't know, 1937, 1938.
What happened to the Lewis family?
They split. One of the two, I think they were the two oldest sons, Lenny and Everton.
Okay.
And they were both named by grandfather Lewis. And he was like an oligarch, a king, he ran that family very strictly all their whole lives.
Who was grandfather Lewis's dad? What was his father's name?
Your grandfather was Arthur D.
Yeah, I know Arthur D.
And he was the oldest of 7 children.
Who was his father? What was his father's name?
Charles E. I think it was Everton. Charles Everton Lewis.
Wow.
Because I was named after him.
Right.
I think. And he ran the family, and everybody did what Pa said to do.
Uh-huh.
Something like on what's that? On the prairie, or little house on the prairie, or something.
Right.
Where the one father was the strict father.
Right.
Well, he was the strict father with all these 7 kids, and he had. Let's see, my dad, Arthur Davis Lewis, was the oldest, and then there was 2 other sons. They were Leonard and Everton,
Mm-hmm.
and then my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were the daughters, Violet, who was Dale's mother,
Uh-huh.
and Lucille, and Lorraine. I don't know if I'm missing one or not. I thought there were 7. But at any rate, they all lived in the house that grandfather Lewis built. He was a builder.
Okay.
And he built schools and houses
Right.
in Cleveland.
Right.
And there's some history books that show that he was active in South Euclid.
Okay.
So anyway, something happened at some point after, I think it had to be, after World War II ended, when everybody was back, and I think the sons, Leonard, and I'm not sure about Everton, he might have been in the service, but no other sons were, Donald and my dad, and the family kind of split up.
Mm-hmm.
And of the family that split up, they split up primarily in the Cleveland area,
Mm-hmm.
but Leonard and Everton went beyond Cleveland. Leonard is, I think, still in or around Ohio or Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
but Everton disappeared. I never knew that there was an Everton.
Okay.
And I never knew that I had an Uncle Everton.
Was he the one that was into gambling and betting on the horses?
He was the one who did all kinds of things
Right.
and got in trouble a lot. Not bad, but the family he moved his family off to wherever he went,
Okay.
because I never knew anything about him or where he went.
Right.
I had a faint recollection that he showed up once,
Okay.
in Cleveland,
Okay.
and saw my dad, but I had no idea.
Right.
So, it was a family secret about Evie.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to him?
Oh.
And about a year or 2 ago, when I had these films made, those 8mm films that I had taken,
Yes.
I got a call from the daughter of the son, Everton,
Mm-hmm.
who lives in Georgia, maybe, or North Carolina. I can't remember now.
Okay.
And she is a person who writes down ancestries and has huge charts, of the whole family tree.
Uh-huh.
And she was having trouble with trying to figure out where everybody was and what happened to them. So I made arrangements to go to her house, and Darlene and I went.
Okay.
And I took those movies that we have of
Right.
the family, and we showed them to her and her parents.
Uh-huh.
And she got to see for the very first time what her grandfather looked like.
Wow.
And I tried to explain to people here, and I had no idea what had happened between Everton and the family. Well, she told me, as best as she can recall. Well, she knows because she was there. The story she had, and I'm a little still confused about it. He was arrested for, I don't know if he was trying to burglarize someplace or he had robbed someplace.
Right.
But he only had $1.50 or $1. This is during the Depression, I think.
Right.
$1.75 on him, and that was enough to have him charged with something. And I don't know if I think he did a small amount of time.
Right.
Anyway, when it was all said and done, years later, he had tried to come back to Cleveland and see if he could get back involved with the family. And I heard he was in town, but I had no idea who he was or what he looked like. And I think he saw my dad. But the family was always told by Grandfather Lewis he was no part of the family. He had disavowed him or disinherited him or something. So they wouldn't talk to him. Even though, as she said, he didn't do anything or anything of consequence, and there was never any reason for them not to get together again. So now, all these years later, and that's about all I know.
Well, that's something.
Now, all these years later, I wanted to let her know,
Sure.
because she's keeping the family tree,
Right.
that Dale had died.
Oh, okay.
And she should change her records.
Okay.
And I said, I wanted you to know how my relationship was with Dale,
Okay.
because he was like my brother.
Yeah.
And so I have been writing this story. I haven't told anything to Darlene, and I haven't finished it yet. It's only a page and a half long now.
Right.
And it's supposed to be just a letter, so it can't be very long.
Right.
And I'm telling about all the things that Dale and I did.
When you
how
were...
I grew up, how my mother died at...
only 30 years old.
My mother died when she was 30, and I was trying to think of the name of the hospital, and it's the hospital down where the Case Western Reserve is.
University Hospital.
University Hospital, I think. McDonald House.
Right, that's where I was born.
Yeah, well, that's where my mother died.
Right. Oh,
I think.
Sad.
It wasn't McDonald House then. I think might have, and I don't know if it was University. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
1940. So I told her that I was, born in childbirth, but as a result, my father had to try and raise me all by himself, and he was a fireman and a bricklayer.
Right.
And he had to do something. So I don't know how he did it. And he was living on Algonac Road, and somehow, and he was a fireman, so somehow or other he arranged for a short time to have a lady nurse watch me while he searched for another woman. And while he was doing all that, he gave me on and off, or during the daytime or sometime,
Right.
I was babysat or taken care of by Dale's mom, my Aunt Vi. And as I grew up a little bit, I was, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. They took care of me almost all the time. Although once my dad found my mother, Rose.
You mean
Rose?
Edith? You mean Grandma
Edith.
Lewis?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Edith. My mom's
Edith
name
Cook.
was Rose.
Yeah.
She of course, when my dad raised me, and she had never been a mother before my mother, So she got me to start. And so I stayed with them. And when I stayed with them and grew up with them, it just kept on, even though my mother was best friends with my birth mother.
Right.
And with, I think, Uncle Babe. They were all from the same area when they were younger on. I'm not sure if they all went to the same school or not.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they were all together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go stay with Dale and his mom. And Dale, I sleep with Dale. I play with Dale.
Mm-hmm.
She would take care of me and feed me, and I loved her, and she was sweet. And so I wanted to tell the lady that I'm writing to, her name is Karen,
Okay.
what the family was like, and they were all so good, especially the women.
They all pitched in and helped out Grandfather Lewis, didn't they?
Yep, and they all stayed in the same location, and Dale and I just were like brothers instead of like cousins.
Right.
So, but he was her cousin too.
Okay.
And I was trying to let her know in the letter that her wonderful cousin Dale had just passed away. So that was the story, that he and I would go bike riding, we'd go to the movies together, we'd pitch tents in the backyard and try to sleep over outside, and I couldn't do that because I was chicken. And he didn't have any animals or anything, and neither did my parents.
Right.
But we did everything together, rode bikes, and we would go to the movies on Saturday sometimes,
Right.
throw the football around. We were just great buddies.
Right.
So I was, and as the obituary says, he grew up to be such an outstanding person. He was a very kind heart. He would give his anything to help somebody.
Yeah.
And he was a doctor.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
Uncle Dale was a great guy.
Yeah.
He was such a nice person. I remember.
So there's a lot of good in that family, as well as
Oh, yeah.
some unknown. I don't want to say unknowns, but that's what it was. It was unknown. I never knew about them, and it was a shame that they couldn't stay together.
Yeah.
I think that Evie was trying to bring the family back together, but the spirit of Grandfather Lewis was still there. My grandfather Lewis.
Right, right.
So anyway, that's what I was going to tell you.
Great story. By the way, anybody listening to this, there's some toy in the corner there that's making a beeping noise every now and then.
It's been going on all day.
We
I
don't
can't
know
figure
what
it
it is.
We don't know what it is. I think it is Irene's computer over there. See that sitting there?
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't know how to turn it on. Or
maybe
turn
the
it off.
battery's going or something.
Could be. I called her. I called Irene. I said, Irene, how do you turn this thing on? She says, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's been beeping all day long.
Yeah. Dad has a copy here of Uncle Dale's obituary. And there's Uncle Dale. Yep. I don't think I can focus on it well enough to... I'll just try here so you folks can try to read this. But, yeah. I've got great memories of Uncle Dale. I remember somebody told me he had a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah. He had he had two things. He had it's not a Harley, but it was a Schwinn bike that had a motor on it.
Oh.
And he started off on that, and he loved it when he was younger.
Yeah.
And then he moved on to a motorcycle
Yep.
when he was older, and he had a daughter. And one day he took her for a ride around Donwell Drive,
Right.
and that's all intertwined roads.
Sure.
And he made it turn too sharp,
Yep.
and they went for a crash.
Spin. Yeah.
And he never rode the motorcycle again.
Yeah.
And he was a doctor, and he said, "How could I,
Right.
hurt my hands?"
Yeah.
And
Well.
that's why he didn't play football in college, because
Well.
they said you could hurt your hands.
Right.
So,
Things turned out really well.
yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna turn off the video.